What I'm going to share with you in the next few moments is an eye-opening aha. That's what I call it. It's an aha. What's an aha? An aha is something that all of a sudden, when you get it, the light goes on. And you say, oh, I get it now. I'm going to share with you what seems to be one of the biggest reasons why people like you and me who want to live their dream and get going toward it, they fail. It just falls apart. It doesn't work. And I learned this one day after I failed terribly in a dream to achieve something that I wanted to do desperately. And I went back and started to analyze what really happened. Why didn't it work? And I put together this little picture that has helped me a lot. And I said, well, I had expectations that my dream would go like this. It would be bumpy a little bit, but not really that much. And it would just go, choo. And the problem was, I found that there was another word besides my expectations. It was something we call reality. And I thought my expectation, and reality would be just the same. I expected my life to be like this doing the dream. Lo and behold, reality wasn't cooperating. It wasn't doing what I expected. In fact, it wasn't anything like what I expected. It wasn't my expectations were here and reality was above my expectations, because then I'd be cheering and shouting and celebrating and on and on. Isn't that wonderful? I was expecting this, but this really happened. Unfortunately, it was the exact opposite. I was expecting this, and reality was down here. And when it first started going, it was a little wedge right here, just a little wedge from here to here, because we were just getting off, and I felt really disappointed. And then I said, I wonder what that word meant, disappointment. I know what it means, but I didn't really know what it means from a dictionary. So I got out my dictionary, and I looked up the word disappoint, and I started laughing. Do you know what it means? No, I didn't. It means to fail to live up to expectations. That was it. The wedge right here. I failed to live up to my expectations. And if you're like the average person, we are so thrilled about the idea of our dream that we never see the dream going like this, that it's going to end in destruction. We may be afraid, but we don't ever have expectation like this. We always have expectations. Some of the people I've met have expectations that go straight up. They're in for a rude awakening. Well, mine was more like this. And reality was way down here. And I then was disappointed. But you know what I expected? I expected my reality thing would move up eventually. And the problem was, reality, as it went on, the wedge got wider. And disappointment wasn't a big enough word to capture how I started feeling. I started feeling, not a fun word, discouraged. What does discouraged or discouragement mean? Well, you know the word in the middle of that is courage. And whenever you add the letters D-I-S in front of anything, it means a lack of this or the absence of it. Discourage. Because when I started this thing, I had a more than abundant amount of courage, because I didn't know what I was doing, but I had hope. And that was the basis of my courage. And then as time went on, I was disappointed because it failed to live up to my expectations. And then the wedge got wider, and I started losing courage about things. I was struggling to believe and to have the courage to continue. Why? Because the wedge, as time went on, the wedge got wider. And you would try to prop yourself up. Many people quit right then. Because of why? Because they have the wrong model in their head. As time went on, this wedge got wider. First disappointment, then discouragement, and then when it gets about this far wide, oh, this is a hard place to be. This is called disillusionment. And whenever any of us become disillusioned, we're at a deeper problem, aren't we? Take that word for a minute. Illusion, disillusion. What's an illusion? I looked up that word. I had my big Webster's Red Dictionary next to me back in those days when I studied all this. And I looked up the word illusion, and it says a false sense of reality. Whoa, a false sense of reality? My expectation was what I thought reality was going to be. And as time went on, I couldn't run away from the fact that that's not reality, and this is my false sense of reality. And disillusion means I no longer, lack of, have an illusion. That is, I no longer think to myself that reality is here. I finally face it. Reality is nothing like what I expected. And I was disillusioned. That's where a lot of people quit. If, however, one of two things doesn't change, if my expectations don't come down to reality, or if my reality doesn't come up to my expectations, it gets worse. Why does it get worse? Because all of this time and the wedge gets wider and wider until you go to the fourth level: disappointment, discouragement, disillusionment, despair. Oh. I seem to bump into people in disillusionment and despair because I've been there and I know how to help. Despair means the loss of all hope. Hope about what? Hope about the wedge, that this will come up. And now you've done it. No, I know, no, it's not, I lost all hope, it's not going to come up. When you get to despair, why would you continue? This is where deep depression comes. This is where addiction comes. Because we can't find hope and we can't find comfort. We have despair, which sucks the life out of us. And whenever despair sucks the life out of anyone, we look for a way to get some comfort, even if it's not for too long, but at least it helps. That's where we get stuck, between disillusionment and despair. That's where a lot of people get addicted to something. That's where affairs take place in people's lives. That's where alcoholism that's where everything gets to. Life just doesn't meet up to this, our dream. And if we don't do something, then it hits death. That's the last part. When it gets so far away, we die inside. We die inside. Kind of the life in us dies. The light goes out of our eyes. We settle into despair. What should we do at times like this? Realize, okay, doesn't have to remain that way. You don't have to stay there. But the point isn't trying to avoid the answer by going in all these other directions. That only after we get our comfort from that, whatever that may be, or with whomever that may be, and then after that little comfort period is over, guess where we still are? We're still stuck in despair. And we're still more addicted to it. And we isolate ourselves. And all of these things, you know what I mean, or you haven't lived long enough yet. Join the human race at times. So what's the answer to all this? Well, there's two of them. One, it's all started with this E word. You had some unrealistic expectations. You didn't know they weren't realistic because they were what came normal to you. And in the early days of living a dream, we got sparkles in our eyes and we just, we think the whole universe is going to come next to us and help us sprout these wings. Why do we have those expectations? Do you want to know? Do you really want to know? It's because no one ever came alongside and put their arm around us and said, you know, I've been down this path quite a few times before. Can I tell you about what you can expect in the pursuit of your dream? These things are going to happen. There's no way around it. You can't, hop over them. You can't dig under them. Although we try, you can't smash through them. You have to go through the stages. And once you have a friend that comes along and says, let me tell you the stages you are going to go through, then if you say, well, okay, that makes sense to me now, what happens to your expectation? It comes down to reality. Oh, so when you hit those roadblocks and those disappointments, and before you would want to quit because it didn't work the way you thought, but now that you know what's reality, you're not shocked anymore. And guess what? Why would you be disappointed since you knew it was coming? Why would you be discouraged? Because you knew if you follow through and do the certain thing in this stage, you go on to the next stage. Why would you be discouraged? Now we're on pay dirt. Now we're on the gold. The secrets about people who are dreamers and achieve their dream and then get a new dream and a new dream, and their life flourishes. So that's what I want to do. If we were together, I'd buy you some more tea or some coffee and say to you, take out a piece of paper, let's talk about these stages, if you want. And I would I'd almost guess, you'd probably hang around even if your truck, like we talked about in the last session, was in the parking lot and the engine was still going. Why? Because all of a sudden, the idea of finding a way to get the dream back into your life was the most important thing in your life. And it is.